Good morning, afternoon, and evening, ladies and gentlemen. My name is Zach Nolan. Carter Nolan is in front of the camera this time.
Yeah, I was about to say. That's a first.
Yeah, not the last, though.
Well, yeah, we'll see.
What are we talking about?
What are you
talking about?
I am talking about AEW Revolution, our first wrestling video.
Not our last.
Yeah, because we do have plans for WrestleMania 37, right?
Variety, my friend.
Well, other things.
Yes.
Who knows? So, we started the night with the Young Bucks versus MJF. I'm not going to do any of the the prelim matches. I didn't watch any of those.
That's okay. No one does. It's the pre-show.
Yeah, I didn't. So yeah, we got.
WWE has taught me anything. It's the pre-show. Does not matter in the slightest.
Yeah.
Sorry, Kalisto. You don't care.
He pulled off a really sick Salito del Sol in that ladder match.
I'm not looking
That's
at that.
the only thing I remember about Kalisto.
Okay, watch.
Yeah. So, Young Bucks versus Jericho and MJF. This was an interesting one. Because I felt it was interesting to open the night with a championship match. Felt that was a little odd. Especially as there's a few other matches down the card where I was just kind of like, really? Like, this is up there? But I feel like, you know what? They're trying to give some of their younger guys a bit more of a push, so I let it slide. Anyways, one thing to start that I found really interesting about this match is me and my buddy made predictions about this. And both of our predictions involved Sammy Guevara coming back and interfering in this matchup.
Did he?
Did he? He did not. Now, I thought it would be a little too early as Guevara hasn't been gone that long. However, I thought they would do it anyway. They didn't, and I'm okay with that. Overall, the match was pretty good. At the start, it seemed like Jericho and MJF were really in control until the Young Bucks started going. Jericho and MJF, they worked really well together. It was quite surprising to see that, just in the sense of like, the Young Bucks, they're obviously a tag team normally, where Jericho and MJF, it's kind of like, oh, this guy's good, let's throw them together and make it a tag team match. Which I'm really happy they didn't win, as I don't like it when non-tag teams win tag team championships, especially with AEW, as they have such a good tag team division. So I'm happy that Young Bucks retained. But there's a few parts of the match that I really liked. I found it interesting the way that they would have Wardlow interfere, helping the Inner Circle, and Nick Jackson, his Canadian Destroyer to MJF, was absolutely fantastic. And there was this theme the whole match where the Young Bucks kept trying to hit their Meltzer driver, which is like, Dak, do you know what that is or no?
I know Dave Meltzer, and I know
it's the pile driver, and then the other guy comes in,
top rope in the corner,
and then the other guy comes in and he does a flip, and
oh no,
it's the other guy comes in, flips, lands right on his ass in front. It seems like kind of useless, but it looks cool.
Yeah, that sounds like a David Meltzer 5.
Yeah, but anyways, they kept trying to pull this off throughout the match. And the first time they had MJF grabs the feet so the guy can't do the springboard. And Jericho somehow gets out of the pile driver and reverses into his own tombstone pile driver, which was very surprising, as I don't think I've ever seen Jericho use a tombstone pile driver before.
Nobody used it in WWE.
Well, yeah, WWE is banned. But, I love pile drivers. I love the way that AEW uses them for the most part. Found this one a bit interesting. But, like, especially, like, they always bring out that shock. Like, for example, like in WWE, like when CM Punk pulled it off against Cena, people lost their shit.
They didn't tell them they were doing it, though.
Yeah.
Like, they were at the point in their career where they're like, or what? You'll fucking fire us?
Yeah. But, yeah. Eventually, Young Bucks pull off a successful Meltzer driver, and the match is over, and, Young Bucks retain. Our next match on the card is the Casino Tag Team Battle Royale, which, if you don't know what this is, it's... Okay, let me put this simple. Casino Battle Royale, Royal Rumble.
With partners?
Yeah, this was with partners, where them and their partner would come out every 2 minutes. So we start the match with Dustin and QT Marshall of the Nightmare Family. And them coming in, just walking to the ring, I can tell they are not on the same page. They are not on the same page.
So naturally, you wouldn't like them to win.
Ideally, it kind of looked like the way Sheamus and Cesaro were at the start of their tag team career, where they just couldn't get along.
Before they were known as the Bar.
Before they were known as the Bar, yeah.
Yes.
I wished in this match that we saw more from the Seidel brothers and Santana and Ortiz. Yeah, you're just thinking of the Botch, aren't you? Matt Seidel in his AEW debut. Yeah. I wish they lasted a bit longer. I was surprised about that. Was not surprised about the finish though, with Rey Fenix and Pac winning after they came in the second last position, so makes sense. It was them against Jungle Boy. Jungle Boy put up a good showing, but then eventually we get eliminated by Rey Fenix. A few things to note was Bear Country, when they came, they wrecked, they tore apart everyone in the ring. It was an absolute mess. And probably the most interesting part of the match was when the Gun Club comes in, Billy Gunn's kids, the Gun Club, right. And they're part of the Nightmare family. However, QT Marshall's like, I want to win the match, screw it, and throws both of them over the top rope. Dustin turns QT Marshall around and is like, hey man, what the hell? They're supposed to be on our team. And QT Marshall's like, screw it, I want to win. And he gets pissed off at Dustin, launches himself over the top rope, both feet hit the floor, walks out, leaving Dustin in the ring. Very interesting. And overall, solid match. It does feel weird having Pac and Rey Fenix win, though, as you're used to seeing Rey Fenix with Pentagon Jr., but he would be in the ladder match later on, so sort of makes sense a bit. Then we have the women's match between Hikaru Shida and Ryo Mizunami. And
first try.
Yeah, I was worried I was gonna mispronounce it. So yeah, Hikaru Shida, the champion, against Ryo Mizunami, who is the winner of the tournament that they did on Dynamite. They had their North American bracket and their Japanese bracket, and eventually, and the winner would be the number one contender to face Hikaru Shida. So one thing I like about this tournament that they did, which the tournament technically wasn't on Revolution, but it builds up to it, so it is important, was building their women's division and building the talent that they had. They got tons of talented wrestlers, especially like some of their Japanese wrestlers are truly fantastic. So some of the interesting points in this matchup were Hikaru Shida springing off a chair. And then Ryo Mizunami literally just dumped her into the crowd. Just picked her up and just tossed her over. It was very back and forth. You'd get one with the momentum, then the other, and it didn't seem like anyone dominated the match from start to finish. Shida would eventually poke the eyes, almost getting a near fall at 2, until eventually Shida would win, and then there would be an intervention after, but it really wasn't that interesting. It was just Nyla Rose because she was mad that she lost the tournament. It's pretty much all it was.
How original.
Yeah. I'm mad that you beat me fair and square. I'm going to beat you up after a match. But it seems very interesting having her retain, as it kind of makes this giant tournament a little pointless.
I was going to say,
as you have like these 30 competitors in this giant tournament and then they lose.
That's always the risk of tournaments, though.
Yeah.
Honestly.
But you know what? Like I said, I think it was mainly just for building and just giving exposure to a lot of the talent that they have. And then we have Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy versus Kip Sabian and Miro, who you absolutely love.
He's awesome. He's just the best. He is the best man.
Yep. Yeah. Yeah.
Yes.
So Chuck Taylor and Orange Cassidy are cutting a promo in the back. Well, Chuck Taylor is cutting a promo in the back, and Orange Cassidy is present. And they get ambushed by Kip Sabian and Miro. And Miro eventually starts yelling at the camera saying, "Play my music," and then drags Chuck Taylor's body to the ring. Orange Cassidy is still beaten up in the back, nowhere to be found. There was a point in the match where, what's his name? Kip Sabian's wife was like ringside for the matchup. And there's at one point where she tries to intervene with the ref to the point where Orange Cassidy almost like flirts with her. It's really weird. But then Miro doesn't give a shit. Miro just decides, all right, well, you know, she's just making a mess out of everything. Takes Orange Cassidy and throws him into her. And eventually gets to the point where Kip Sabian, he's ringside. He comes back into the ring because as much as this was a traditional tag team match, it really didn't seem like that. It seemed like a tornado tag because you always had all 4 competitors in the ring. Kip Sabian goes to check on his wife. And then Miro eventually has to go for the cover, but he realizes that Kip Sabian is the legal man. He runs out, grabs Sabian, throws him in the ring so he can get the tag because he just wants to win. That's all he wants. Overall, decent match. Miro would eventually win the match with an Acolyte submission. However, the match, to be honest, it kind of seemed a bit like filler. But I guess it builds it up a little bit. Next, we have a promo from Jericho and the rest of the Inner Circle talking about their loss. And they announced that this coming Wednesday, they're going to have their Inner Circle War Council. I cannot wait to see what the hell is about to happen here. The next match would be Adam Page versus Matt Hardy. To be honest, there wasn't a whole lot in this match. You'd eventually have a point where Private Party would come in, tries to help Matt Hardy. Dark Order would come in. It really, it almost kind of reminded me of the Sting versus Triple H match at WrestleMania. It wasn't the greatest match. You just had run-ins and whatnot. But yeah, it was all right. The big money match where Adam Page would win, I think it was the first quarter of 2021, like Matt Hardy's paycheck of the year.
Oh, wow. Think of all the house show money.
Yeah. Yeah, all the house shows. Yeah, but then we would have our ladder match where 5 of the participants we already know of, and there would be, the last one would be a surprise. So we had Max Caster, Scorpio Sky, Lance Archer, Cody Rhodes, who now is actually allowed to say his last name, thanks to WWE copyright.
Isn't that new, though?
Well, it's not the newest. It happened a few months back. Yeah. And then Pentagon Jr. And then our surprise entrant would be Ethan Page, the 2-time TNA champion, also Canadian wrestler.
Yay, Canadian.
Yeah. And then Max Caster, of course, on his entrance to the ring, he did his whole rap thing, made a joke about Dr. Seuss getting canceled. Yeah, it started off decent. I wasn't sure if they'd actually grab the ladders under the ring, but no, they would run out to the end of the stage and grab them and then run back with it. Just seemed kind of interesting. It was a solid match. You eventually would have a point where Cody would get injured, though. Now, this comes after there was a ladder bridge on the side where Pentagon Jr. would hit a Canadian Destroyer, head straight into the ladder. Cody's on the ground. And you see him then get carried over by medical staff to the side. And you're like, you know he's going to be like, oh, yeah, I'm still able to fight. I'm going to come back later. Because that's what they always do.
Unless you're Sin Cara.
What?
Unless you're Sin Cara and a Money in the Bank ladder match.
Oh, yeah, and then in that case, you're just gone. But yeah, and then eventually we get to the point where I'm trying to remember who it was on the ground. I think it was Lance Archer. He was on top of a ladder, Scorpio Sky with a very nice frog splash from the top of the ladder onto it, so big moment there. We would then get to Jake the Snake interfering in this match with a hit on Ethan Page. Until I think it was Lance Archer who kicked him, just booted him right in the head outside the ring.
That's how I.
Cody would go for a springboard Cody cutter and absolutely botches it, completely missing, and the commentators trying to make up for this. He goes for the Cody cutter, completely misses, and they try to make up like, oh yeah, look, he got enough of him. Yeah, no, he missed. He missed.
The immortal line. He didn't get all of it.
He didn't get all of it.
He got none of it.
He got all of it. He didn't get all of it. He just got enough, I think is exactly what they said. But yeah, completely missed. And then eventually you had a few other guys climbing the ladder. Steel chair shots take him down. Happened for literally about a minute. Just of that. And then eventually Scorpio Sky would win the matchup, which I'm fine with that. And then we had our big announcement. Who is going to be coming to AEW? Christian. I mean, I'm not going to lie. Like, it was nice, came in Christian Cage, his TNA name, TNA music. I wish there was no announcement. If he just showed up, I feel like that would have been much better. Yeah. I've never been a huge fan of them just announcing there's going to be a return. Why don't you surprise us? It's always better, especially since there are fans in attendance. There can be a pop. Because, as we find out later in this pay-per-view, there definitely can be a boo that you're going to hear. Next matchup. We have Ricky Starks and Brian Cage versus Darby Allin and Sting. This was a cinematic match. This is kind of like the Boneyard match that they did at WrestleMania 36. Did this for two reasons. First reason being Sting is not the youngest person. He is not as young as he used to be. And, for safety reasons, probably better to do that. And also, they have to set up the ring for the interesting finale to this pay-per-view. It was a great cinematic match, to be honest. I preferred it to the Boneyard a bit. Some of the camera movements were really where they'd speed it up when shooting, but because you'd eventually get to the point where the match would be fought outside and it would be very split up with Brian Cage versus Darby Allin on one side and Sting versus Ricky Starks all the way at the other end, and they just kind of fly back and forth, the camera. So Sting and Darby Allin show up with their cult people, whoever they are. At the start of the match, it caught me completely off guard. Sting grabs Darby Allin and throws him at Brian Cage and Ricky Starks, and I thought he was betraying him. The start of the match, I was like, what the hell? What's going on here?
Sting finally learned about turns.
Yeah, eventually we get to the point where Darby Allin somehow gets thrown up onto the wall, and then he literally, puts on all four like Spider-Man, jumps off, does a coffin drop. Very nice touch. Not sure if it was real or not.
I'd say it was real. It just probably didn't hurt as badly.
No, in the sense of the way he kind of flew up there and flew back, it was kind of I don't know. But eventually Brian Cage starts beating the hell out of Darby Allin, throws him straight through a door, and then he gets him up in almost like a brainbuster or a jackhammer and literally carries him up a flight of stairs till they get up, and eventually Will Hobbs would interfere and help Brian Cage. This entire time you have Taz as the heel announcer because, and honestly, this was the right way to do a heel announcer, unlike Michael Cole. That was absolutely...
Let's not get into that.
Yeah, I know. But yeah, he would come in. They'd eventually throw Darby Allin straight through a sheet of glass. Not a whole lot else would really happen. I mean, you get to a point where Sting would break his bat. And then Brian Starks, after throwing Darby Allin through the glass, came down, started fighting Sting. Sting was taking both of them. Put Sting on this platform in between the two balconies, and Darby Allin from the top floor, not a coffin drop, it was an elbow drop, which I've never seen Darby Allin do, from the third floor straight through the second floor down to the first floor, never to be seen again. Eventually, they'd make their way back to the ring, and then Ricky Starks would hit a spear for a near fall, and then Sting would hit the Scorpion Death Drop and win the match. 1, 2, 3. And then we have our main event. Kenny Omega versus Jon Moxley in a exploding barbed wire death match. Moxley comes to the ring dressed in a jacket that is paying homage to Onita, who founded FMW and also was in the very first exploding barbed wire death match that has ever happened. One thing I find really interesting is I haven't watched that much deathmatch wrestling, and I forgot that the ref has to wear a hazmat suit in the ring.
What?
Yeah, he literally has like a lab suit and face shield because explosions. And the match starts, and the 30-minute timer begins until the ring would eventually explode. More on that later. Match starts off pretty good. They can't really do a whole lot of unique moves in the middle of the ring, as obviously it's not like you can bounce someone off the ropes and do a move because the obvious. Kenny Omega throwing the powder straight in the eyes of Moxley. He's blinded, and then throwing him, and we get our first explosion. Now this explosion, it was all right. It was all right. Now, I had watched some of the CZW stuff, some of the other exploding barbed wire death matches, or at least highlights from it. And it was all right. I expected it to be toned down a little bit for just because, they're on mainstream television, so I expected it to not be quite like the Indies. Decent explosion, but yeah, you can see that right here.
That coward referee.
Yeah, honestly, it was a solid explosion. And however, putting it into perspective, the CZW one was this.
Does not look good.
Oh, no. Oh, no. Oh, no.
Oh, my God! What?
Yeah, it was, it's brutal. It is absolutely brutal. But overall, it was solid, and that's what you'd see throughout the matchup. Kenny Omega then gets into a figure 4 leg lock with Moxley. Moxley, with one of the most brutal ways to get out of a submission I've ever seen, grabs the barbed wire bat and starts raking it on the legs of Kenny Omega to get out of the submission. So barbed wire scratching right on the legs. Absolutely brutal. So eventually you then have a point where Omega would then get thrown straight into the barbed wire twice as he get hit in. Explosion. Then gets kicked in a second time. A second explosion goes off. But the thing that was brutal, at least for me, was that Omega was facing forward rather than backwards. So the explosion was right in front of him as opposed to being on the back. By the way, one thing I didn't mention, both these wrestlers are pretty clothed for obvious reasons. And then we get to a point where it got pretty brutal as Moxley would get busted open after getting hit through a trash can right on the forehead, so he's bleeding everywhere. Moxley would then start to take some of the barbed wire off of the chair, wrap it around his arm before hitting a lariat on Kenny Omega. Pretty brutal, because, that's kind of the match. That's how it is. Would you say that, Zach?
Yes, I would.
We get a timer warning reminding us that the ring is actually still going to explode, and both try to go for the finish right away. They want to get it done, get out of there. And we get to a point where Omega would hit his V trigger twice on Moxley, and then a one-winged angel, which no one apparently kicks out of, according to Don Callis. And Moxley, with one of the most creative things I've seen, kicks the explosion on the rope to break the pinfall, which, sure, that's cool. I've never seen that, so I really enjoy that. The Good Brothers then come in, Gallows and Anderson from TNA Tag Team Champions, again, to help Kenny Omega. And they bring this special gift for Omega, a barbed wire bat. However, it seems a little bit bigger than usual. And that is because it is a exploding barbed wire baseball bat. Moxley would take it right in the face. Down he goes. One-winged angel on a chair. 3 count. Omega wins. And then we're reminded that the bomb is still going to go off, even though there is 5 minutes left on that bomb. They start beating the absolute hell out of Moxley with bats and kicks and everything they can. They handcuff him there, and then they get down to the minute mark. Don Callis leaves commentary, gets over to Omega, is like, we're going to get your ass out of here. They handcuff Moxley, and then Eddie Kingston comes out to help Jon Moxley, and it gets to 10 seconds, and he realizes he can't get out of there, so he covers him up for... This was what happened in Japan and what I was expecting.
Did we get
that? And I was expecting, I was like, we're gonna get there. Oh my God, the ring's about to explode. Everything's going off, and then...
No! Kingston! Oh my... Oh my God!
Thing. All right, we're gonna get some medical.
Was it shit?
Yep.
Now, how do we handle things that are shit? There we go.
This bad boy.
Yes, it's broken. Stop staring at it. Give it back.
First it's Bull U. Now it is this, like, that was...
Sparklers.
It looked like a birthday cake. Yeah, the little sparklers go off, and then poof. Guess what? He's 18 now. That was pathetic. Eddie Kingston is trying his hardest to sell this shit. Absolutely pathetic. Probably one of the biggest botches I have ever seen. Now, as this discredits so much from the match. This is like, this takes away a lot. It's not like, this is not a simple botch where, oh, he said his name wrong, or, oh, he botched a move. No. We're talking the finish of a pay-per-view. And AEW only has about 4 pay-per-views a year. And Revolution is one of their big ones. So this, I know they're going to make this into a storyline. Yeah. After they went off air, Moxley took a shot at Omega, basically saying, like, you know, you call that shit an explosion. But, of course, that's off air, so about 3/4 of the people watch, way more than that. About 99% of the people watching didn't see it. Yeah. Overall, great pay-per-view, great last match, but an absolutely embarrassing finisher. I was laughing during this because I could not believe at how pathetic it was. So, I hope you enjoyed watching this video. This is, you know, this is our first wrestling video that we have. We're gonna have a few more over time. But yeah, I hope you enjoyed watching. Please like, share, and subscribe, and follow us on Instagram at Nolan Hockey Podcast. And we will see you next time. So,
thanks for all the views on our last video.
yeah, thanks a lot.
Really
We're at, like,
appreciated
we
that.
have like what, 500?
Yeah,
So, yeah.
it was pretty good for 58 swears. See you next time.